Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Meeting Gold podcast. We've got a special guest today. I feel like I say that every time, but this one's actually really cool. If you watch any martial arts, like mixed martial arts, even boxing, or you'll probably like this podcast a lot. We've got a pro MMA fighter, and actually, I'm going to pull out my phone really quick because, you know, Anthony's a humble guy, and he'll never say this on camera, but I was looking at some of your statistics, and I wanted to read those out to the camera here. So, Anthony Romero, everybody, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me.
You are Anthony Romero, is 17th ranked of 923 active United States pro lightweights. That's what it says here on Google. You are second ranked 127 active U.S. Southwest pro lightweights, second ranked of 66 active Texas pro lightweights, and sixth ranked of 223 active U.S. Midwest pro lightweights. And your record, correct me if I'm wrong, is 10-1.
Yes, that's correct.
And that's in professional MMA fighting.
Yes, yeah.
You've got the resume for it, brother. So we'll get into, you know, how does one go 10-1 in MMA and kind of fighting. But I wanted to ask you a deeper question to start is, what was like the seed implanted in you at an early age that ultimately made you want to become a fighter, that made you, you know, I was doing some research. You got your black belt when you were 10?
I had Taekwondo black belt, yes, yeah.
So like what planted that seed to do that early?
I believe it was something that was just consistent in my life. I played soccer and I got competitive in soccer, like Ontario championships, all that kind of stuff. But it got to a point where I could never get to the next level, like professional soccer. And I was training martial arts at the same time. And a goal of mine is always to be like my own boss and to be a professional athlete. Yeah. And seeing that was the growing sport and you could be a professional and get paid well and all that stuff in martial arts, that's kind of like what I decided to do, because I was already doing it anyways. Instead of starting something brand new and trying to start all over again, it was just there. So just kept training and kept competing and all that, and next thing you know, I was a professional mixed martial artist. So
I mean, you know what, man, they say like in any professional sport, it's very hard to make it. And I mean, you're still in the building process, are you not? Because you're currently trying to get to the UFC level. Yeah. And we were kind of talking off camera, and I've seen on a couple of other interviews you've done. I mean, you're very close. And didn't you have an opportunity about a year ago to take it to the UFC level or get a contract? And how did that look for you?
Yeah. I competed on the Dana White Contender Series. It's kind of like a feeder to the UFC. So like there's a couple fights there, and then if you impress Dana White, then you'll get a contract to the UFC. Obviously, I'm not in the UFC, so that day I didn't impress him enough. Yeah. But I'm still like right there. I know I need to do a couple of things in my fights, like get more finishes and all that. But I have the right management team now, and we're all pushing to get there together. So.
And how motivating was it for you to be told no?
It hurt, honestly, at the time. But if you look back in history and anyone successful, they all went through some kind of struggle. There's no one that went just straight up and that's it. Like anyone always had something that put them down, and then that kind of proves if you really want it or not. Like at that time when I was told no, I could have been like, okay, I'm just going to pack it up. I'm going to find something else to do. But at that time, like I just kept pushing, kept training, and I'm right there again, exactly where I want to be. So.
Yeah. I mean, you're 25 years old. At that time, you could have honestly packed it up and started a whole new life and forgotten about the literal 20 years that you put into training since you were 5, but you decided to stick with it. So I want to ask you, what is your conditioning schedule look like? I mean, it's obviously 5, probably 6, 7, maybe sometimes 7 days a week. Like what's that on a daily? What are you working on? Cardio, workouts, gym?
Yeah. A lot of it is, especially like I'm in camp now for my next fight. So a lot of it is just working on the techniques and getting the live drilling. So different situations and all that stuff. So jiu-jitsu, striking, wrestling, sometimes sparring all together. So a lot of it is mainly on the martial arts.
So like technique?
Yeah. But if I'm outside of camp, then I'm focusing more on just keeping my conditioning up. Still working on techniques, but it's not like as focused on a certain opponent. And yeah.
So because I think a lot of people don't understand this, like you might be at the gym for 5-6 hours today. Like I know you have training at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
You might be at the gym for, let's say, 6 hours. at the gym, you're not like pumping weights, right?
No,
you're actually you're fighting, you're practicing technique, you're grappling, you're sparring, doing all this kind of stuff. Where do you find the time to go for runs, go to the gym and work out, like keep up muscle? Like, I mean, like normally people go to the gym for 5 hours a day. It's to work out. It's not just to fight, right? So, exactly. I mean, how grueling is the training schedule for you, and how do you organize your time?
You get used to it after a while.
Yeah.
Like we're doing this podcast, but I have time. Like I organize my days to make sure that I can fit everything in. I'm also teaching as well. Like I run my own gym.
Oh my God.
So sometimes like I kind of squeeze in training there with my athletes. And it's lots of fun. I enjoy the process. Like it's not stressful at all. And like I said at the beginning, like I always want to be my own boss, so I can make my own schedule and not have to worry about telling my boss, hey, I can't make it to work today, or I'm sick, or all that kind of stressful stuff. I just kind of make my own schedule and I figure it out myself.
Well, your passion for MMA and martial arts and just in general, it obviously it does shine and it does show, and I think it relates a lot to business. I remember we were talking with a good friend of yours, Jasmine, who also got a UFC contract, which is amazing. So hopefully you're up there with her soon. But we were talking with her, and she was kind of saying, like, you know, it is hard. It's a lot of work, but once it pays off, it's fantastic. Like it's the most rewarding thing you can do. And then it's just addicting, the continuous process of consistently working on your trade. And we related business to the training regime that you guys, I mean, put yourselves through it. I would call it hell, but I mean, you probably call it fun in some twisted way. But so obviously, like you're a chiseled guy. I mean, you're pretty fit. You could probably run a faster 4 than I could. But when a lot of people see you, they would see that. But I want to ask you, you know, like when you're looking in the mirror, what do you see about yourself, and what pushed you to be this persistent to this day?
I would say, like, I always take it back to my parents. When I was growing up, they always say, like, you can be successful and have all this money and stuff like that, but you should always, my dad always says, he's Spanish, he's from El Salvador, but he says, like, don't float. So he's saying, like, don't think you're off the ground and above everyone else. So when I look in the mirror, I see a humble person. I see a normal person as compared to everyone else. Because once you start thinking that you're above everyone else, that's when you start to go down. Yeah, exactly. So I always remind myself that, like, no matter how successful my business is going to be, how I am as a fighter, like, you're always going to be normal, right? Yeah. Because, like I said, it can get carried away. So that's what I see as a humble person in the mirror, and just trying to better myself, not compare myself to anyone else.
I gotta say, from the few fighters that I've met on the come up that are working hard they're probably the most humble people that I know. Most of them. I mean, if you're watching, like, you know, Conor McGregor, there's a lot for show, and I know that. It's just you find that a lot of the people on the come up in business, fighting, or any professional sport that they're trying to make it in, very humble people, because they know and they respect the grind and how many people alongside them are competing for the same goal. So what are some things that you believe you do to set yourself apart, and why would you get a UFC contract over somebody else?
Well, first of all, like, physically, I feel like I can prepare myself for a fight without getting hurt. Like, I know there's, like, some weird things that happen in grappling or in striking, stuff like that. You get hurt by accident. Right. But I'm able to understand how my body feels in training. Like, I'm not to the point where I'm going to, like, redline my body and the next day I'm just going to not be able to train because I went too hard the day before, or sparring too hard. Like, in the past, people have got, like, a lot of injuries, brain injuries, because they lose their career in the gym. Like, they're sparring hard, and they're not getting any benefit from it. They're more, like, hurting themselves compared to bettering themselves. So being able to preserve my body and be ready for the next training session and understand the schedule that I have. So I think that separates me apart from a lot of fighters.
Like, your ability to keep consistent despite because I mean, it isn't easy. I did a leg day on Sunday, and I'm still feeling my legs burning, right? So it's like to know your body's limits. it's a unsaid skill set. Like not a lot of people talk about that.
I think it's like it's a weird weakness because people think that if they're like, oh, I can't do today, then they feel like they're like mentally weak or whatever. Like it's a weird thing. But if I'm like, okay, I had a solid training session this morning, I'm gonna take it down a little bit for this night session. That way, for my next day, I'm not dead. I'm not like tired or anything like that. But I'm still getting that consistent work in, compared to doing one hard session, another hard session at night, and then Tuesday is like destroyed. You have no energy for the next day.
I mean, I gotta say, the career of a fighter is, in my unprofessional opinion, is one of the most grueling things you can put your body through. After all, I mean, so you've done 11 fights. Okay, so you've taken hundreds of punches, probably. You've taken down guys. You've done everything under the sun. Do you have a fight that you remember the most distinctly that you were maybe proud of yourself for, or you wish you would have done something different? Like, what's a fight that always comes back into your head?
I would probably say the one that I lost recently. I would think it was my 10th pro fight.
Yeah.
That was a really inspiring fight when I look back at it, because it was a tough fight. I had a tough opponent. And it was one of those fights, like, I was super close to getting the UFC. Like, if I were to win that fight, like, I probably would have got the call. But it never went that way. I got cut open in the second round. Like, I don't know if you can see the stitch in the camera and stuff, but like under my eye, my my nose is like ripped apart. It was not a pretty scene. But yeah, just going through that type of adversity, through the second round and then pushing through the third round, and like it was a close split decision, so it could have gone either way. But that night wasn't my night, and I learned a lot about myself from that fight. So.
More so than just the physical aspects of you.
Yeah, like especially being undefeated, like, and winning all these fights, stuff like that, not getting hurt, pretty much at all. And then going into this fight and then seeing that I didn't shy away from that type of challenge. Like, I could have been like, oh, I can't do this anymore, going through that type of adversity, but I didn't. I just kept pushing through, and I kept trying to win the fight. I kept trying to knock the guy out. But it was just like a tough opponent. Yeah. And just like I said, you learn a lot about yourself.
No, seriously, I think it's like, it's one thing to be strong physically. Like, I would say more people can take 5 punches than they can 5 mental punches.
Yeah.
In the sense, like, 5 hits to your mindset can make you stop anything at any moment, but your mindset can also make you do anything you want.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. And I think how has that kind of made you realize, like, because I mean, man, getting cut open under your eye, I've seen some big, like some UFC fights where you like your eyes cut open, and I mean, it's like, it's grueling work. So where's your mindset at when you're cut open, your nose is effed up, you're absolutely probably exhausted to the core. But I mean, both of you probably are. You and your competitor. What in your mind makes you push forward?
I think just not stopping now. Like, I've gotten this far. Like,
why stop?
It can't get any worse. Yeah. Like, I already got split open unless I get knocked out. But it can't get any worse. Like, if I stop, like, I feel like I'm gonna feel 100 times worse than if I just keep going. Like, mentally and like in my heart, looking back, if I gave up that during that moment, I would have probably regretted it for the rest of my life. Just be able to push through, and obviously if the fight was stopped, then it was out of my control. Someone else did it, but I'm not gonna just quit and get that far and then find out what would have been. So
what are some goals? I mean, obviously the UFC is a big goal, and we were talking with Jasmine. We got a little bit of inside info on how the UFC kind of works, the pay structure, the details, just around like the marketing of the event and stuff like that, because it's a business more so than it's not just entertainment. It's a flat out business, and so they need to make their money, and they need to find the best fighters. So what are some things that you would do differently now if you get that next shot? I mean, do you have, like, what's your next shot at the UFC? Do you have one, or are you looking for it? Or
so I actually just signed a contract yesterday. So for Fury FC, April 24th. So have a good fight there, and then we'll see what happens there. Like, I know I was speaking with my management. I need to finish knockout, submission, something like that, and just to be impressive. Like, I know I can go the distance. I know I can control people. But being able to knock someone out and get a nice finish is impressive. That's what got me into the Contender Series. I had a finish in
Interesting.
that
So
fight.
so they care about finishes. Is it because it has the entertaining aspect?
I would say so. Yeah, like it's scary. Like it's brings attention when you see stuff like that.
Yeah.
Compared to seeing someone just dominate for
Almost breaking their arm, then they tap. Yeah.
So that's what they want to see. So that's what I got to do. And now that I know that, then it's a little bit different.
I gotta say though, like it is shocking to me that an 11 or a 10-1 fighter with 11 fights professionally, like, isn't there yet. It just goes to show, I guess, how hard it is to really get in. But I mean, I think you probably dream of that day where you're signing a contract for 4 fights or something like that.
Yeah, it's something I always think about. Like I always think about like where will I be like at the time that happens, or I get the call or something like that. Like just I'm excited to feel that emotion of happiness.
I think even just knowing how hard you work, I think it's hard for people not to understand an inkling of how you would feel getting that call. So what would be like, why would you continue to push your body, or I guess I'm saying is for people in general, what would you say to them to continue pushing their body through mental and physical limits to achieve a goal that they have?
Well, you kind of said earlier, like it pays off at the end. Like anyone that works hard at something, like you'll get, even if it's not the ultimate goal, you'll get a little piece of what you want. Like you're gonna get there. You just got to keep pushing and keep working. My coach, like you met him, Chris Prickett.
Yeah.
He always says like hard work is the one that pays off. Like obviously being smart in your training, like you're not gonna go for 20K runs and all that, because that's hard work. But you're overdoing it, right? But hard work always pays off, no matter you get to the very top of where you want to do or you get just underneath. And I know there's like another saying, like reach for the stars, because at least you'll hit the moon or something like that. It's like,
I love it.
Yeah. So you're always pushing and always trying to get the hard work done, and like just go follow the process.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so here's a fun question. It wasn't fun for you probably at the time thinking about it, but like your hardest punch that you took, what was that? Because I mean, listen, I'll joke around with my buddies and stuff like that, and we'll be like, because we'll watch like UFC fights, and we'll just like imagine a punch being taken to the cheek like a hook, and we're like, there's no way. Like just how people can handle that, it's mind-boggling to me. So what would be like the hardest punch you've taken, and what did you feel in that moment?
I would probably say it was my second pro fight.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was pretty cool. Like it was at the Seneca Casino.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of people were there to watch. I was fighting a 4-0 guy, and I was only 1-0 at the time. And he threw an up kick in the second round, like one of those Anderson Silva up kicks to my chin. And
like wait, like that?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So it hit my chin. I didn't even see it coming. And I got wobbled a little bit. I fell over, but then like I just came back.
Obviously, you got back up. You won it.
But it threw me off. Like I've never been hit with that before. No one's thrown that to me, and so it was just a weird angle when he hit me with it. So I would say that was probably like the best thing that got me.
You say like, oh, I didn't see it coming. I don't see anything coming. like when I'm watching a UFC fight or just a fight in general, I don't know what the person's going to throw. I mean, maybe in the moment you kind of guesstimate. So I guess how much is feeling gut, like that feeling that they're going to throw a left hook, and how much is like studying your opponent, strategic? I guess like what's the bar percentage wise? Would you be able to say?
It's tough. I think it's just over time, like the hours you put in training with different people, different styles, understanding different timing. Some people are faster than others. Some people throw punches at weird angles. It's just adapting to different situations.
Right.
And I think it's like anything, like in any sport, you get used to in hockey, someone can shoot the puck harder than other people, or
like a goalie. Yeah, I know that. You know what? You make a really good point. I think like when you say, oh, you didn't see it coming, my mind goes to, okay, so you kind of see what other stuff is coming, or you at least try to. So when somebody's throwing a jab, are you expecting jab, cross, hook up? Like what, like, I don't know.
Yeah, like usually, like when you get into a fight, you kind of test the waters, so you kind of see like what their speed is, stuff like that. Like, you don't just go out there like unless you're Masvidal running and throwing a jumping knee, but you don't go out there and like and try to throw your hardest punch or throw all your tools at them, and then they kind of get a reading of what you're doing. It's a weird, I don't know, it's a weird game to explain to someone who's never watched fighting or have sparred or anything like that, but you go in there and you kind of test the water and like see if they're fast, if they're slow, if they're where they throw their punches from, how they rotate on their kicks, if they're a wrestler, if they're looking for takedowns. So there's a lot of things to process when you're in there, and it just all comes from the hours that you put in.
How much studying do you do of your opponent before you fight them?
Just a little bit. Usually when I get offered a fight, I look at who it is. I'm not just gonna be like, yeah, whoever it is, and then next thing you know, there's just like this huge jack guy.
Yeah. You got to know what you're getting into.
So yeah, like I find out who he is, like what his history is, all that kind of stuff, and then I just accept the fight, and from there I pretty much just better myself in training. It depends on like if he's a specialist. If he's a wrestler, then I'm gonna probably focus more on wrestling, and other way around. If he's a striker, then I look for my takedowns and all that. But yeah, that's not too much. I don't invest too much time.
What would you, right? Because I guess it all goes down to if you're gonna win the fight, it's the work that you put in. It's not just oohing and awing over the other guy, and like you work on what you can control, right? What the other guy's doing, it's completely irrelevant.
Yeah,
it's good to know how he throws a punch, I guess, but realistically, you got to work on your trade. What are some goals that you have? I mean, obviously, to go 25-1 in professional fighting is a dream probably, but you get the call to the UFC. What's the first thing you're gonna do?
Probably just like, obviously I'm gonna tell my parents, my girlfriend, my family, like everyone close to me. Maybe have like a little celebration party or something like that. I don't know.
The one celebration that a fighter has, eat cheesecake, I would say.
Yeah. But then like everything is pretty much normal after that. Like you continue to train, right? Train at the same place, still put the hard work in. It's not like I get to the UFC and I take a bunch of days off and I train here and there. Like I just made it. So you got to keep pushing and pushing to get to that next level, get in the rankings of the UFC, and then get to the top 10, top 5, and then championship. Like it's all the same process. It's just a bigger platform.
Yeah. And so, what would be the one thing you would say to fighters? Because I have a couple friends who want to pursue fighting. In fact, you might know a couple. But what would you say to those type of people that are trying to pursue it? They're 15, 16, 17, 18. Especially because you train younger people. What would you as some advice?
Just enjoy the process. Like a lot of people try to get to something and they try to rush. They try to go from like beginning to end right away. Yeah. Try to learn everything in the book. But you just enjoy the process, learn your lessons. If you're like really invested into it, like I always say, like if you learn a lesson, then maybe like do some studying on it. Like if you do, if we're working on the jab today, I'll show you a couple things in the class or whatever, and then maybe go home, go on YouTube. Like you can find anything on YouTube. Learn different ways to throw the jab and techniques and stuff like that, and then come back the next class and you're a little bit better, right? Because you have that knowledge from maybe if I was teaching you or your instructor was teaching you, and then you have the YouTube, right, to help you a little bit. Yeah. So just stay invested in it, keep pushing, and enjoy the process.
Enjoy the ride, yeah. And what would be one thing that you would say to your younger self? Do this differently, or try this, or would you say anything?
I don't know. I think everything's been good so far. I have a great team. I have a great management. Everything's been good. I'm happy the way things have gone. I know I lost that one fight, but like I said, it's all part of the process. It's very rare that you'll see someone undefeated in mixed martial arts. There's so many ways to lose, so many ways to win, and I'm happy with the way things have gone.
Yeah. Well, fantastic, brother. Hey, listen, Anthony, I appreciate it, man. And I hope that I really do see you on the big stage one day and get to watch you on TV. Maybe save me the pay-per-click that I have to buy the thing. But you never know. No, listen, man, I appreciate you coming on. And listen, keep up the hard work. I know nobody needs to tell you that. You've got your own reasons to keep pushing forward. Yes, and I'm really excited to see where you take it and what you do. And yeah, brother, I appreciate you coming on. And for anybody that is listening and wants to reach out to Anthony, wants some training or some advice, where can they reach you?
Yeah, Genius_MMA or Genius Fitness and MMA on Instagram. Probably the best way is to reach me. And yeah,
shoot him a DM. He answers pretty quick. So hey, listen, man, I appreciate it. Guys, take it easy, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers. Thank you for listening to this week's Golden Guest on the Meeting Gold podcast. If you learned something from today's episode, make sure to check out our other content on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, make sure to leave us a follow while you're there. Thanks, and have a golden day.